This is Joe McNally for AdoramaTV, deconstructing how you can take a small speedlight or a small group of speedlights and turn them into natural-looking daylight coming through a window.
AdoramaTV presents Photo on the Go with Joe McNally, where you'll go behind the scenes to see how great photos are made.
Hi, this is Joe McNally for AdoramaTV. A reason I go to Adorama? It's a real store with real people, and I've got friends and associates there who have guided me through all my camera purchases for years. One of the knocks on small flash is that it's small, right? And as we all know, the smaller the size of your light source, the more it tends to be on the harsh, hard, or spectral side, okay? So the idea of making soft window light with small flash may be, a bit of a disconnect, but let's talk about it and see how we can take a speedlight or maybe a small grouping of speedlights and pour them through a window, okay, in a very natural looking way, in a way that your viewer is not alerted to the fact that it's actually you lighting the picture and not, Mr. Sky. I'm in a firehouse in Saint Lucia. Okay, so here's my camera angle. Let's call it like right about here. We have the camera here. Oh, that's a big camera. Okay, it's looking at a wall of stuff. Firefighter stuff, right? There's bunker gear, right? There's helmets and all sorts of things up on the wall that are emblematic of being in a firehouse. Now, you could say, well, this is a bunch of stuff, and it is, but what it really is for the viewer of your photograph is editorial information. All of this stuff up in here, that I'm going to photograph or use as a background locates my viewer. It gives them information, it tells them we're in a firehouse, it hopefully gets some of their attention going into my photograph and holds them for a little bit. So fortuitously, there was a wall over here and a rather sizable window right about there. Okay, cool. Even more fortuitously, down the way here, there was a doorway leading out into a parking lot. Okay, so now I've got my light source and I've got access to get a trigger light or a commander flash out around the doorway to the lights that are going to come through this window. Good plan. Put my subject right here, okay? Now I have to kind of direct him, right? The light is all coming from this direction, so he has to kind of angle his body and his face in this direction, because that's the key light. In fact, that's really the only light right now that we're talking about. All right, so here's the basics, the physical basics of the scene. So there's no light, by the way, because we shot this late in the afternoon, so the outdoor light is zippity-doo-dah. So what I'm gonna do is recreate a cloudy day effect and feel. I could have shot at natural light, a real slow shutter speed, ask my subject to hold still, high ISO, but I'm looking to keep my ISO low because I want to get quality. I'm shooting a D800, okay, which is a terrifically resolved camera, okay, really high resolution, but I don't want to take that camera and push it into the stratosphere of ISO. So I'm going to light the picture. I put a simple stand out here, okay, and I try to make sure that stand is at an angle to the subject. In other words, I'm not going to put my light source in this quadrant, like coming flush through the window this way, because the light will then bypass the subject. I want the subject, where they're placed, to have access to a good angle of light. So hence I put my stand right here and I put a Triflash on there. Okay, so there is, in the early part of this, there's 3 lights. We ultimately went down to 2. You can do it with 1, okay? The 3 flashes gives us a little more volume to the light and also lets those small speed lights work a little less hard. So now it's just raw flash. There's nothing on them, no light shaper, nothing like that, just the dome diffusers. They're banging into, as I mentioned, the Lastolite, okay, is a 6x, okay, what we call a 6x here, okay, in this area, all right? And it's covering the whole window. So what I do here with my diffuser, whether it's a bed sheet, whether it's just a simple silk I'm taping to the wall, generally speaking, if I have access, and we were on the ground floor here, I put it outside. Why? I don't want it inside because if I go wide, I'm shooting a 24 to 70 millimeter lens here, an environmental portrait kind of lens for me. Okay, if I go wide and want to shift over this way, what could happen? If I have the diffuser on the inside, then I could possibly see it, or it could interfere with me compositionally. So I try, when I can, to put whatever diffusion I have or I'm going to place over the window, I put it on the exterior of the building. So now I have my lights in place. Okay, I have a good angle. They're outside the building. So how do you get a signal, or how do you trigger those? Any number of ways, Pocket Wizards, Pocket Wizard radios. I'm using the PW3s. They're a very affordable update in the Pocket Wizard system. I found them to be extremely reliable. But I like to kind of play with small flash. I try to beat the blackjack dealer, and see if I can figure out a way to work with TTL, in a situation which, TTL or line of sight is not readily available. So anyway, the cool thing about this scenario is there's a doorway right here. Okay, so right there, you can go outside, here. So I put a stand out here, and it has a commander flash on it right there. I use tried and true, my linkages, SC29 cords, a little coil cord right back to the camera. So what's the danger of having all of this beautiful light coming from just one side of the picture? It's very directional, and as it hits your subject, it might handle the subject okay, but then it's going to fade very, very quickly in here. All this area in here is going to go to shadow, okay? So you want to open those shadows. So another thing you can do, which I did here, is I had another flash right behind camera on a stand up in here. And that flash, okay, was firing upwards into the ceiling. So that flash is also being controlled, by the way, by this commander, because it can see it. The commander sees both groups of lights. So I have this soft flash, this weak flash going up off the ceiling. And what is that doing? In very incremental fashion, it's opening up these shadows in here. It's just filling in the picture. It's the classic definition of a fill light. The best definition of a fill light is it's a light you're only aware of when you shut it off. In other words, while it's on, it's natural, it's effortless, it's helping you do the picture, but it doesn't draw attention to itself. So that's what this does. So my main light comes from here. My fill light comes from here. Both groups are commanded by this particular commander flash right over here. It's linked to the camera, 24 70mm lens on. I place my subject, and I end up with a very moody, soft, naturally lit photograph. So here's the advantages you've created. Big soft light, controlling it via a commander. Environmental portrait, back here I'm at f5.6. But I have command over the lights. The camera and the lights are talking to each other, so I change up lenses. I go to 1.4. I move my subject in here. I limit my depth of field and shoot this picture at 1.4. I play with the power of this fill light, and I have it in the picture or not at all, depending on how much drama I want. So now I've got a range of environmental portrait at 5.6, tight portrait at 1.4, fill or no fill, big, broad, beautiful direction of light. All sorts of things are working to my advantage in creating a scene that your viewer will not know that you created the light. They'll just look at it and say, wow, that's kind of pretty. It must be a soft, cloudy day outside. Kind of cool. Happy to be doing this on behalf of AdoramaTV. I have a long relationship with the store, which began when the store stepped forward in one of the more wonderful events of my career and helped me support the storage and the preservation of the set of giant Polaroids I created after 9/11 called Faces of Ground Zero, which helped raise a lot of money for the relief effort after 9/11 in New York City. And Adorama very proudly stepped forward in a very simple fashion, shook my hand and said, we'll help you with this. And I've had a relationship with the store ever since. So happy to be here on AdoramaTV, and hopefully this deconstruction was kind of fun.
For all the latest photography, video, and computer gear, visit Adorama.com. Place your order by 8 p.m. and it ships the same day. Plus, next time you're in New York City, be sure to visit our store located on 18th Street between 5th and 6th Avenue.